Hey, gang, welcome back for another CirdecSongs interview. As always, I ask you to please subscribe to the channel and like the interview and comment because we've got a new up and coming band with us right now. I caught them opening for King's X at the Arcada Theater just outside of Chicago a few months ago. They really captured my attention, and I said to myself, I need to get to know these guys. They're from Nashville. They call themselves Sound and Shape. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well, doing
Doing
well.
great.
Excellent. For the uninitiated, please introduce yourselves.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Pat. I'm Ben.
Excellent. And who plays what?
I play guitar and sing.
I play bass. I'm the drummer.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad you guys could be here with us today. How long have you been together?
This lineup's been together since, was it early 2018? So,
Okay.
hmm
Cool. What brought you together? Tell me your origin. Tell me your origin story because I love Marvel movies. Tell me your origin story.
Sound and Shape's been a band for quite a while, and just lineup changes and stuff. I'm the only original member, but just kind of needing a player for a tour here, a player for a tour there. And then Ben joined actually late 2017, mid 2017. And then we needed a bass player, and Pat joined, and then we got this lineup together, and it was like, okay, this is it, this is the one, and it's been the longest tenured lineup, and we've done the most shows, done the most tours. I think released the most official recordings. So yeah, this is it for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. I don't like describing other bands' music, because everybody's got their own little take on things. So, how would you describe what you do?
I would just say rock and roll, but that doesn't satisfy a lot of people. So um, it's just rock and roll. It gets a little proggy, it's a little poppy here and there. It's heavy at times. It's you know, there's a wide palette that we draw from.
Nice. Who would you say you're influenced by?
I don't know. We can probably all take that question.
Oh yeah.
Well, then
Yeah.
all of you take that question.
Yeah, I think we're all influenced by different people, and I always like to let people know I'm like there's a touch of prog, but not enough to like need to know music theory to nod your head to our songs. Like you don't have to be counting the beats and be like, oh, I got that 7 in there. Like
I can't count the beats.
yeah. I guess my earliest influences were mostly grungy punk rock drummers, but also with a mix of Rush and Primus and stuff like that as well. So kind of a variation of like all of that. I try to use as my voice and when I'm playing drums. So I apply that
Makes
to
sense.
everything. I guess. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. So that covers. I'm assuming that's Tim Alexander, or from Primus, and
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Neil Peart. Who else?
Oh man. Well, Dave Grohl was one of the earliest ones as a drummer before Foo Fighters started,
Right.
and John Bonham for sure, very early on.
Jimmy.
Yeah, and I was gonna say Jimmy Chamberlain, but I'll also admit I did not get into Pumpkins until way later. I'd probably been playing drums for a decade before I really appreciated Smashing Pumpkins at all. And once I did, he's now like, one of my idols, Jimmy Chamberlain. I mean, but yeah, it wasn't that I was putting it off. I just never gave it a chance. And then once I did, I realized, so
It happens. I mean, it
I
doesn't
had new
matter.
drummers all the time.
Yeah. Doesn't matter when you show up at the party. It's just that you showed up. That's
Yeah.
the important thing. I can't begin to tell you how many bands I've discovered, 10 or 15 years down the road because there's just so much stuff in my collection. All right, bass man, let's talk about your influences.
I was been a huge McCartney guy. Pretty much from day one. Somebody's
makes or can write parts that you would want to listen to, even if it was just playing bass.
Right.
It's like its own thing. Guys like Pino Palladino, he's kind of the same way, but also just hold it down no matter what. Especially being a 3-piece, making it so it's still interesting when the guitar drops out.
Fair enough.
So what I've been kind of gravitating towards, but mostly trying to make stuff that has its own melody instead of just, the 1 and the 5.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. And then there's my guitar player over here.
How much time do we have?
Hey, I got nowhere to be, so you guys go ahead.
The Beatles are definitely my biggest influence by far. But it kind of depends. Like, I'll go through periods where I like just listen to one thing for months on end. Like, I don't know. I think I listened to only, Peter Gabriel solo albums for about a year and a half, between like 2018 and 2019, I think.
You can do a lot worse.
Oh yeah. No, I'm a huge, like Elvis Costello fan. Big Pumpkins fan, giant Noel Gallagher fan. But then also, like Yes and Crimson, Robert Fripp's my favorite guitar player of all time. Definitely Rush. I'm a huge Squeeze fan. I've been on a big Squeeze kick lately.
Ooh, love them.
But also, like, and there's a lot of stuff that I listen to sort of voraciously that you'd never hear in our music. Like, I love Sam Cooke. I listen to Sam Cooke, like, I don't know, almost daily. Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, Son House, Robert Johnson, all that stuff. I think a lot of bands, not saying that we're a better band because of it, but I think a lot of bands would be better if they listen to stuff that they don't sound like.
Sure.
Just, because I always like to have music that I'm not thinking about sort of percolating in the back of my brain. Because you're always going to draw from it no matter what.
Right.
Trying to think who else. What have I been listening to lately? A lot of Opeth, but I think that definitely comes across in some of our music, especially some of the newer stuff that we're doing. It's a lot heavier and a little bit more riffy. I don't know. There's a lot of the sacred cows of rock that I don't like that I think people would be surprised at. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty long list. Neil Young.
No. You're just going to leave that hanging out there, or you got?
Probably.
Yes.
Probably. I probably should, just so we don't get knifed.
That's fair. I got in trouble once for saying that a little Dream Theater goes a long way for me. But that's just me, and there's nothing wrong with them. It's just one of those things where some bands you can go into that kind of thing, and some it's a little more difficult because I'm a Tool fanatic, and I have no problem if they have a 15-minute song. That's fine. In fact, I rather enjoy that. But other groups, they just don't quite reach you the same way.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Sam Cooke and Peter Gabriel. Peter was just basically emulating '60s soul singers.
Oh yeah, I mean,
So
Sledgehammer's a soul song.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, in fact, I'm seeing him in September. I broke my big venue rule because I've never seen Peter live, so
yeah,
I like small rooms. I like being in small rooms because I can connect with the band. You guys have had opportunities to connect in that kind of room. How would you say the fans have received you? Since you got your definitive lineup together.
Well, it's been I don't want to say surprisingly great, but like we're always grateful for every step up the ladder we're able to move, and it's been really, really, really great the last couple of years. Being able to. So we started touring with King's X, actually it kind of goes back a little before that. We had the opportunity to tour with a band called Sparta. Mm-hmm. And that sort of initiated our first sort of bump, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
And that was when we kind of all looked at each other and went, okay, like this can work. Like we can play in front of bigger crowds and get great reactions and do this, you know? And so, you know, we've been kind of, you know, pulling ourselves up ever since then, and then being able to tour with King's X prior to the pandemic. And then we actually had a bunch of stuff booked with them in 2020 that all, you know, got wiped away. So being able to now start making all that up, it's been amazing. On the last run, we sold out of all the merch that we had with us. Our, you know, I hate to even have to use this as a metric, but like our social media numbers started going way up, and you know, unfortunately, the powers that be do look at those things.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's say, don't hate that. That's a good sign.
Yeah. So you know, if you're watching this, by the way, head on over. But yeah, it's been great, and it's humbling. You know,
Right.
the more it happens, the more humbling it is. You know, the more when people are able to, you know, quote your song lyrics back to you, or say, "Oh, I love this song," or you know, it's just it's the things that you want, and when they happen, it's just sort of like, oh wow, you know, like you don't ever think it's going to happen, and then when it does, it's just it makes it that much better, you know. And I think we all probably have, you know, different perspectives on it, but
related question. Tell me about going out with King's X. How did that work out for you? How was that feeling?
Yeah,
Don't be shy over there, rhythm section. Jump in here.
no, they're fantastic guys, and just getting to watch them play each night it's kind of humbling again too, because they've been doing it for so long, and everybody knows who they are. You know, it's like it doesn't matter who you're talking to. Most of the time, you mention King's X, and they're like, "Oh yeah," and to get the opportunity to open up for them, and then sit on the side and watch them play is always inspiring. You know, like it's even like we're not even the same type of band necessarily. Specifically, we don't sound like each other, but still,
Right.
just like it's like those influences, like he was talking about, that when you listen to other music and the musicians are great, you know, they inspire you whether you sound like them or not.
Right. Right.
And watching them on stage is like it's like a lesson in rock and roll every night on how we can do it better the next night, you know, because we've now had this experience, you know, and getting to see them do it firsthand. And that's my biggest takeaway, I guess, from getting this do these shows with them.
That's
yeah,
cool.
and just even how to like you know, carry yourself professionally when you're playing these venues, like how to get on and off stage quickly. And you know, we try to be the best support band we can be, which a lot of times is get the hell out of the way, you know.
Yeah.
Like that really is a big portion of it. And a lot of bands, you know, we a lot of times we're direct support, which is, you know, right before them, and there'll be a local on first. And sometimes those first three don't really, you know, they haven't got opening band 101 down, and it kind of throws a monkey wrench in the works every once in a while. So like, you know, that just makes us want to be even better at what we have to do in terms of like making everything run smoothly and professionally and stuff. So like, you know, even when we're off the road, like, you know, Ben and I have been spending a couple weekends putting all our stuff in road cases, and he put new wheels on mine and stuff so we can like just, you know, go quick. So it's, you know, it's more than, you know, obviously the bottom line is us getting to play in front of big crowds that are appreciative and love the music, but it's also the best education that we could possibly ask for.
Sure. Makes
at
sense.
this point, you know, it's
How
great.
How long did it take you guys to settle in to the routine?
It never ends.
Yeah.
It's-
No, we're learning every day.
we're always settling into something new to make it better, more efficient. Like he was talking about with the road cases and like doing specific measures from a learning standpoint of each show as a process, and then we do it. Like we pretty much load the van the same way every time. You know, we've got
Right.
that down.
Yeah.
But then like we're like, oh well, you know, with cases, with wheels and all that, we can be more efficient. Now it's gonna change all of that too. You know, it's like, yeah, we learned to load the van once, but now we've got different gear. It's got to be done differently. So it's constantly, you know, the whole it never ends. You know, we're always growing and trying to better ourselves. You know, on and off stage.
It's kind of
The
like
fact
playing
that-
musical. Let's say it's kind of like playing musical Tetris with your cases.
Yeah. And the fact that King's X has 2 very large Texan roadies helps.
Right.
'Cause we don't want to make them mad. They you know,
Make,
they're
Makes sense.
actually great guys, and they're very helpful to us. You know, and you know, that's kind of one of the other things that you don't think about being an opening band is like you get to know the other band's crew, and you watch how they do things.
right.
You know, and that was actually something that was great. I did a short solo tour opening for the Pineapple Thief, and you know their crew was incredible, and getting to
Yeah.
watch them every night and see how they did things was amazing as well.
And they're a great band to boot.
Yeah.
they're a lot of fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you a chance to brag about yourselves here for a second. What would you say that each member brings to the musical whole?
Can we brag about the other one as opposed
Yeah. Help yourself. Help yourself.
to? So playing with these guys for now, what year is this? 2023. 5 years. I know their strengths, so I can write to them, and I know that they're the most solid rhythm section that I've personally ever played with, but they're also the most inventive, so that I can write the most batshit of guitar parts. Can I curse on this? I'm not sure.
Oh, please help yourself.
Okay. I don't know if this is family friendly. Like,
Oh no, we're not editing here, pal. Do what you got to do.
if my son watches this, don't. Daddy said that, but don't say it.
Well, that's you filling up the swear jar. I can't help you on that one.
He's heard me say worse, unfortunately. I know that I can write anything, and they might look at me weird for a second, but they're good. They're not going to say like, we can't do that. They're going to be like, all right, well, let's figure it out, and they're going to not only
Give it a shot.
yeah, they're not only going to figure it out. They're going to make they're going to come up with something that's going to make what I came up with even better. And you know, when I'm writing a song, I know the thing that goes through my head isn't like, oh, this is a killer song. It's, oh, I have a good one that the guys are going to make even better. So, like, I never have any question when I write a song that it's going to be even, you know, just miles above what I could do on my own, because I know those guys are going to, you know, get their mitts on it.
Makes sense.
Single tier.
Next. You guys can arm wrestle for it, but
Sort of in the same vein, but for Ryan, writing machine, which is a good thing. So many songs, very prolific. It's good. There's tons of ideas to work from, and then you and I get to kind of try to shape them away. Also, drumming machines. I still remember the first time we played together, and you're like, "No, I play a little loud." I'm like, "Okay," and I was like, "Damn." All right.
Yeah, you know,
just a little loud then. Okay.
we're using wooden sticks. What do you expect?
No, so, but got to get this huge rhythm section. You know, it all worked. Thought it was.
Well, that kind of thing happens.
Yeah, no, it's good. I feel like I kind of get off easy because I don't have to play like in key or anything,
Right.
you know, like they do. But at the same time, you know, Ryan will come in and say, I have this idea. Here's a new song. It's a little crazy, but you're going to be into it. And we're like, all right. And then we just do it, you know. And I do find myself intentionally, I mean, it's not intentionally up front, but after a song is written, I find that I tend to accent a lot of my drumming with the lead vocal and the guitar as opposed to bass. You know, like, I feel like there's always been a thing for decades where it's like, well, the drummer and the bass player have to be synced up. That's the only way to do it, and that's it, period. And we are, but I make music with my instrument. I don't just keep a beat for these guys. You know, like, I'm actually also by myself making music. And that tends to complement a lot of the guitar riffs and things like that. And I don't know, that makes me smile because I get to play these crazy drum parts because he's like, I got kind of this crazy guitar part here. And I'm like, let's do it, you know? And that's like literally the creative process for us. It's just kind of, we get in a room together and hash it out, and it always comes out like, you know, like we're proud.
I like it.
It's good stuff.
Well, you're in touch with your inner Bill Bruford, is what it sounds like. You talk about, yeah. I always tell everybody, if there's one drummer you don't want to rely on for the groove, just go look at the you hear that bass player over there, just follow him because it's much easier, and because the drummer is going to come back around eventually, but
Sure.
but it's
Eventually.
it's going to take a minute, so everybody else is playing.
Matt and I definitely lock in together plenty, but I do like to vary out there, a little bit, sync up with some of the lead stuff.
Right. I think one of the big things that sets my songwriting / our band apart from other bands that would be sort of in the prog genre, which, like you said, I don't think we're not 100% in there, but I write big choruses whether I want to or not. And like I said, I love Yes, but they don't really write many flag wavers, you know what I mean? And
right.
I'm from the Beatles, the Pumpkins, the Oasis / Noel Gallagher school of those choruses that she loves you. There's never going to be a better chorus than She Loves You. There's just so many, and it's not even necessarily about the hook, but it's something that that's just going to get in there and get you about the song. And that's sort of that's the part of the songwriting craft that I keep, that keeps me up at 3:00 in the morning. And because I can write, fun, crazy guitar stuff all day, but it's when you get down to the nitty gritty songwriting part of it, it's it's the chorus. And,
right.
There's a lot of, not to cast any, shade upon any other modern, progressive bands, but there's not a lot of choruses. It's a lot of sort of, there's a phrase that's coming to mind that is very, very not okay.
Is it like noodling or?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, it's the word I'm trying to find that means what I want to say, but more polite. They're serving themselves as opposed to serving the song.
Right. I was going to say self-indulgent, but that's
that's a much more polite way than the way I was going to say it. But it's oh, look at how fast we can play drums. Look at the shred. We can sing real high and we can do all this cool stuff. And it's awesome. That makes me happy for about 8 seconds. And then it's that's why I love the Pineapple Thief so much, is Bruce can write a hell of a chorus,
Oh, yeah.
Same way with, Steven Wilson and Porcupine Tree and his solo stuff. and even Opeth, like,
Yeah.
they, even as they lean more into the, proggy of the prog, it's, Michael still writes choruses and these melodies that get stuck in your brain. And I think it's symptomatic of what happens to a lot of bands and genres that like to stick themselves in the parameters of those genres to
Hmm.
sound super pretentious. It's like, you have sort of the upper tier bands that are in those genres. And you have all those bands that are sort of suckling at the, stylistic teat that are just sort of carbon copies of those bands as you get farther down,
Right.
that aren't necessarily trying to do anything interesting or better. They're just trying to do things that are within um, that genre and that style, and you're just sort of like this continuous cycle of nothing, and you're not going to better
Right.
yourself. And which I thought the whole like early 2000s, like, emo screamo thing was like one of the worst genres for that, because you had, a decent amount of really good bands within that, and then you had all these gazillion bands that were just carbon copy after carbon copy of those bands that just became diluted down to, nothing. But that just happens. That's what happens with. That's what happened to grunge in the '90s, and then
Oh
alternative
yeah.
metal and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Pick your genre, because I blame
yeah,
I blame radio consultants a lot too, because it was one thing. This is my little side rant here. When we first got an alternative station in St. Louis, which is where I'm from, but I live in Chicago now. They played all kinds of alternative. It just wasn't Pearl Jam and Nirvana and what have you. I could hear from Ned's Atomic Dustbin and Helmet and Suzanne Vega and PJ Harvey and what have you. But the consultants realized that people really like Pearl Jam, so let's find another 10 or 15 bands that sound like Pearl Jam
mm-hmm.
and play them all the time. And it destroys it just absolutely destroys the genre, and it just makes life more difficult for everyone. And to your point about getting bored with what some people do, and I'm not even going to name any names either, just be safer. But
Yeah.
the more experienced you get, I'm guessing you guys agree. The more experienced you get, the harder it is to impress you with something that used to throw you like speed. Here's a guitar player that can play really fast. Okay, great. Now do something with that
Right.
instead of just playing for the sake of playing. So I definitely get what you're saying.
Well, with the shred thing in particular, it's like it becomes a sporting event as opposed to music. Like,
Right, right.
I mean, give me David Gilmour any day over like Yngwie or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, David says more with 8 notes than a lot of people say with 80.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you mean. I mean, it's all in
Yeah.
that little half string bend, that little half tone bend or what have you. Like, ooh, that it's a little more emotional, and it's not
Yeah.
about me right now, obviously. But when I think of somebody like the late great Jeff Beck and the way he emotes, I mean, just using the whammy bar, doing things that I just cannot conceive of, and
Right.
that's and it's not about playing at 100 miles an hour or 1,000 miles an hour. Really, I get that. I
Right. Well,
completely get that.
that's why I love guys like Robert Fripp and Alex Lifeson. It's like Robert Fripp will play one note for like several minutes and
Right.
then play a run faster than anybody else,
Yep.
and then go back to playing one note. And it's just like his genius lies in between those two things, and there's just not there's some sort of self-discipline that I don't have to be able to do those two things.
Right.
Even in my brain, when we're playing, sometimes I'll catch myself being like, you are playing far too many notes, asshole. Like, just chill, dude. Chill. And I'm sure,
Well, I like that you're
these guys will probably start
self-aware
looking
about
for
that
that
kind
now.
of thing. So,
Well, I was
and
going
the
to say, from a
soundscapes of
drummer
Robert,
standpoint,
Robert.
it kind of is the same way, where I consider myself a musical drummer more so than just keeping a beat, like I've mentioned. And some of my bigger influences, you mentioned Tool. Danny Carey is like
Oh,
a
yeah.
literal god to me.
Yes.
Like he's from another planet.
As well, he should be. Yeah.
Has greatly influenced my playing since the mid '90s. I've been listening to him that long, and I mean, it's like there's a tastefulness and a musicality to his parts, and then he'll do something that you're like, what? Like, what? I don't even know how to. I can't count to it. I can't pretend that I could ever play it. But then the rest of it, he goes back and it's like, he is playing stuff that's like very advanced, but still simplistic because it's advanced because it's making the music better, but it's simple because it's just a beat that he's playing, and you can play along with it. And of course, then he comes in with a fill again.
Well, everybody's been wearing out that video he did for Numa. A lot of reaction videos and what have you, and he's playing parts that are just incomprehensible at times, and it's just fun watching people react to that. And I would throw we keep bringing up Porcupine Tree and the Pineapple Thief, so we have to throw Gavin Harrison into that mix. Yeah, the busiest man in Prague. I mean, I'm going to go from Porcupine Tree to the Pineapple Thief to King Crimson and just keep circling around. That it's remarkable. But let's talk about your music. Let's talk about the album that you released previously, and then about the stuff you're working on now. What were you focused on more when you were on the road?
Technically, we're still in the disaster medicine tour cycle, so we're playing. Everything in the set is from that, aside from 2 older songs that we're playing. So,
yeah,
still promoting that. Yeah.
How is that feeling? I mean, it's you're a long way from the demo stage from that record, and you've recorded it and you've taken it out. How have you progressed with it? I'm sure it doesn't sound the same as it did when you first started.
No. No, I think we've settled into it really well. It's gotten a little heavier, I'd say, because we kind of know the points where to really hit now. There's a couple spots where we elongate things a little bit live. It feels really good. There's a couple songs, or actually no, we've played everything on it live now except for one song.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and the reaction's been great. There were songs where I was like, this feels great to play live. I don't know how it's gonna, come across live. We'll see. But there's no. When we first started touring it, I was trying to be really clued into like what's gonna dip the energy. What are the crowds gonna be like? In terms of reaction. But like every song is been hitting really hard. So we actually don't really change the setup very often. So,
nice.
Great.
Nice. Hey, easy, Fido.
That's our manager.
Gotcha. Why didn't anybody name their dogs Fido anymore? Not important. I'm going to throw this one at Pat because he's trying to hide back there. And I'm not going to let him get away with it. How would you say your playing has been informed by what you did previously, say from the demos up to what you're doing now?
Tenfold. Pretty much. When we were demoing, obviously trying to get a feel for the songs and everything, and I'm kind of grateful that we played them as much as we have, because you can really get, like, once you start knowing it like the back of your hand, start figuring out where you want to throw in, pretty much any idea, and see, because you know what framework it's going to work into. So I've like that every once in a while, when we're playing live or something, I'll throw in something a little different. I don't know how noticeable it is. Well, I know. Yeah. No, it's good to get to know them so well so you can play with them. Obviously, once you put something down on the record, that's the way it is forever. But being able to explore all the songs a little bit differently every time.
Makes sense. But the record is just it's a stopping point in the journey. It's not necessarily the definitive answer to what it is you're looking for. This is what we were that day, and now you get to move beyond that.
Yeah. You get to kick yourself every once in a while. You're like, why didn't I do it like that?
Well, that happens. That's why you need a live album, so you can you can move on to the next stage.
Mhm.
Tell me about the new material you're working on. Like you said, you got some stuff lurking out there.
Yeah. Well, I wrote a fuck ton of new material. It's
Well, you
actually
are
been
a
kind
machine.
of, huh?
Let's say you are a machine, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of a running joke. Like sometimes Ben will go, in the kitchen to get water, and he'll hear me playing something, and he'll poke his head back in and be like, "Stop! Like no more. We don't need any more." And I actually stopped at about like 46 or 47 new songs.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
good place to slow down. Sure.
but then I wrote another batch of about 10. So, but I kind of weeded through them before. Well, we did a small demo session like late last fall, um, and then we did some more in March. And so I've written, like I said, I've written another sort of small batch, and I've gone ahead and kind of narrowed it down to like 15 or 16. So we have a general idea of what the new record's going to be. Um, and it's heavier. It's actually a lot heavier than the last record.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't a conscious thing, but I think that as I was going through all the demos and kind of, I have this insane piece of paper at home somewhere. I need to like take a picture of it and post it online, but it's got like my columns of like ABC, like hell no, like what the fuck was I thinking, and it's got all my working titles on it. And like, the working titles are like 3 shoes are too many shoes, or like, why is there so much flour? And like some pizza would be nice, like all this kind of crazy shit.
Right.
But I noticed all the ones that I was putting in the like A column that I felt really fit together well were sort of heavier, sort of darker, moodier. And I feel like, I don't think it's necessarily going to be like a topical record, but I kind of feel like, the world as a whole is kind of in that place right now. But, out of the stuff that we've been working on, I'm super excited about it. And we've demoed 8 so far.
Okay.
I think we're going to do another 4 in a couple of weeks, or in a few weeks. Hopefully the guys share my enthusiasm. But
Something tells me they do. You guys seem to have a.
and then first.
Oh well, a mere detail. A mere detail. you'll, you'll sort it out. It'll be fine.
Well, I've learned again.
Yeah, that's got to be. When you have that much material, though, there has to be a moment when you kind of sit back and say, "How does this go again?" or what was going on in this particular part. Makes sense. Makes sense. What else is going on in the future for you guys? I mean, you're back home now, but what happens next?
We go out with King's X this week for some shows, and then we have shows with them in September and November. And then, not sure at the moment. We're hopefully going to do the record in October, but it might be November, so we're just kind of playing it by ear for now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What's the zenith for you? What are you hoping to accomplish? Where's that moment when you say, "We found what we're looking for," or does that moment even exist for you?
That's a good one. I don't even know how to answer that.
We should let Pat do it because he keeps trying to hide back there. That's right. We're picking on Pat today.
I don't have a better answer.
I mean, the ability to do this full time for sure. But I don't think there's ever artistically, I see the point on the horizon, but it's always going to keep getting further, because if it isn't, or if it doesn't keep getting further, then you don't keep getting better. And if you don't keep getting better, there's no reason to keep doing it. So if I ever feel like we hit that point where it's like, oh, we can't get any better, then there's no point, because if you ever sit there and you think, oh, we're the best we'll ever be, it's like, then there's no reason to do it. Plus, your ego would be so big you wouldn't even be able to get through the front door at that point. But
I couldn't imagine ever thinking that,
No.
like personally,
No.
like, what? No, there's always room to grow, and there's always somebody better out there to be influenced by,
Yeah.
and to hope you get to that point. But yeah, I think for me, just like being able to just keep doing this and getting to play for people that enjoy music and watching us play, you know, and being on stage is my favorite time to be behind the kit, because there's, you know, in rehearsal, there's writing songs, there's in the studio, there's like on stage, there's by myself rehearsing, which I need to do more of. Don't do. On stage is like my favorite place to be, and as long as I can keep doing that, I'm happy. I'm here, and I'm ready for it. What I
It's a
want.
beautiful thing. I give Mike Rutherford from Genesis credit, because they've been around for forever, and he said once that, you know, I don't think we've made our definitive album yet, and I'm sitting here going through, yeah, you kind of have, but at the same time, it's nice to have that thought within the band that we can still
Yeah.
we can still stretch our door a little further. I like
Yeah.
that idea. All right, this is the part where I get to allow you guys to shamelessly plug yourselves. So where can we find your music? You know, what platforms are you using, and all that good stuff. So tell us where to find you.
Music, we're on all the streaming services, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all that stuff. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
Bandcamp.
Bandcamp.
There's I think the live album is only on Bandcamp, not on Spotify.
Right.
But it's a live recording of a show here, a local show here in Nashville at Brooklyn Bowl.
I was going to say we can't.
So
We can
cut that out. I don't know.
Live at the Brooklyn Bowl. That's where.
Okay.
Now we
Is that a thing? I don't know. I don't do these things. My first time.
No, I'm sure. What was it?
I just assumed it's on the record. Like it says it.
It just is live from Nashville.
Anyway. Bandcamp. That's what I was trying to say, is Bandcamp.
Okay, fair enough. Bandcamp it is. Though, now that you brought it up, do you have a favorite venue in Nashville that you like to appear
Brooklyn
in?
Bowl.
Oh, there you go.
Which we're playing. I don't know when this will be out, but we're playing there with King's X this Saturday, the 15th.
Yeah, July 15th.
Of July.
Okay.
And we just re-released our most recent record on CD, with 2 new bonus tracks that aren't currently available digitally, but will be on August 4th. So
sounds good. So get out there and invest in them, kids, because you're gonna be happy with what you hear. Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you guys out there on the road again. Or, you know, I'm just going to have to come to Nashville, because I was saying before we got rolling, I didn't spend enough time there. You know, I saw a show at the Schermerhorn, and then caught a couple of museums, and went to Grimey's, and then went home in a day. I need to spend some time on Broadway. That's it.
Come back to Nashville, and we'll be back to Chicago anyway. So
of course,
he's from Chicago.
Oh, there you go.
He lives up there still, so I'll be back.
Okay. You almost can't avoid it, can you? So,
Wow.
you got to... All right, guys. Well, one or two. You know, I'm sure you'll find some place to play. You know, the arcade is nice, but that's a bit of a hike to get out there from the city. But there's tons of city venues I'm sure you guys will find your way into, and we'll be there for you. So thanks a lot for taking the time.
Thank you, man.
And we will talk to you soon.
Thanks.